Hey, this is Matthew Harvey here with the 12 o'clock siren recording live at the 903 Broadband Studios at the Cowboy Corner on the southeast side of the downtown Leonard Square. Is James Fort Worth by evening?
Yes. Moonlighting
Partly.
over in Fort Worth tonight. Oh.
Moonlighting.
Oh.
Cold Fort Worth beer.
Speaking of cold, it was cold this morning.
Yes, it is.
44 degrees.
Fall is here.
Thank goodness. Well, sort of. It's going to be 86 this week.
Well, yeah, it's going to go.
Yeah.
Second fall.
Second fall.
Second,
First fall.
Second fall?
Yeah.
The seasons are cycling through. We are back for another episode. Back in the mothership.
We
to use
are.
a ticket term.
Yeah.
The 903 Broadband Studios in Leonard, Texas. Kind of back to our roots on this one, I think.
Yeah.
What do you
Local
think?
resident.
We got a local man, resident, a new author.
Newish.
author, a veteran, a judge, a law enforcement officer. I'm messing my words up.
It's all right.
Mr. Tom Gillespie.
Mr. Gillespie, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm just proud to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you.
We're happy to have you, and we appreciate your interest in coming on as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
This brings us back to our roots, like Matthew said. The reason we started this podcast was to talk to people around the local town. So we had stepped out a little bit from our. It was a bit of a paradigm shift for the last few episodes, but this is good to get back.
We're back to it. I would assume your name has come up a number of times in the podcast. I'm sure it has. I know your name, and when you called, I was like, Tom Gillespie. How do I know that name? I'm not originally from here, however. Know a lot of the names and recalled your name from somewhere. Maybe you arrested me at some point in my life, or maybe I was before you in court. I don't know.
Scraped by a DUI one day with Mr. Gillespie.
Maybe your reputation precedes you, and we really appreciate you coming in. And you've got a great story and one that we can relate right back here to Leonard. Could you give us just a synopsis of your relationship with Leonard, Fannin County, and then we'll go on from there, because I know there's a lot more to this foundational story.
Okay, I'll tell you how I got here. I was the chief of police down in Melissa at the time. I started the Melissa Police Department. And while I was down there at night, these guys would come down and meet somebody else, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and drive to LTV over in Grand Prairie. At that time, it was a government contractor and everything. And so anyway, I got to meeting with them, talking to them, drinking coffee with them and everything like that. And they said, we're fixing to need a officer up there in Leonard. Why don't you come up there and put in for it? I said, well, I don't think they can pay what I'm making down here. And they said, well, come up. So said, we're looking for different people to come in and put an application in. So I got thinking about it, and after about a week of talking to him and everything, I said, okay, well, I'll come up.
Where were you living at this time?
I was living in Melissa.
Oh, in Melissa, okay.
So anyway, I come up to Leonard and everything. I really loved the small town atmosphere, the square. I mean, just like going back to the old days of the West and everything.
Yeah.
When I first come to Leonard. Population at that time was 1324, and to show you the growth that we've had, you know what it is now? 1990.
Yeah.
So
it's incredible.
So that is one of the reasons that I really like it here in Leonard, and that's why I stayed.
Still no traffic light.
No traffic lights.
Pretty
Need
impressive
one, though.
these days. Yeah.
Yeah, still.
Where at?
At 78 and 69 on over by the field house.
Oh, you use that a lot.
Yeah. I literally had to wait 10 minutes the other day. Yeah, in the morning. School rush hour. It's pretty rough, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean the blinking orange light?
Yeah, we need something. We need something.
Yes, it does. But anyway, I come up here and one night, and I was on the square and getting ready to go in to put my application in. And so I had already got the application, and I filled it out, and I come up. And I got up here, there was about 20, 30 people up here. I said, what in the world is going on? All of these guys going in there for this? I said, I'll never get this. They probably got some good qualified people here more than me. So anyway, it was finally my turn to go in there, and I tell you what, I was just shocked. Them 3 guys, all 3 of them were on the city council. So I didn't say nothing about it, nothing like that. I put my application in and everything, and they did their interview, and the mayor did it and everything. So anyway, I went back outside, wait till they did, and then said, well, okay, everybody, y'all free to go. So I got ready to leave, and they said, Tom, would you mind coming in here? So at the time, it was a city marshal. It wasn't a police department, nothing like that. Well, city marshal limits you on your authority and everything. And all the communication was done through the Fayette County Sheriff's Office. So anyway, I took the job. They offered me the same money I was making down there. And so I took the job, and then about a week later, we called a special meeting, and I told them, I said, we need to change this from city marshal to a police department because of the grants that we can get. We can start a reserve force here. We can get another officer, and the state of Texas will pay for them. And so they agreed, and we went through the process. So I was the last city marshal and the first police chief in Leonard, Texas.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So
A siren milestone.
Yeah, that is. I wonder if there's any city marshals left these days.
well, yeah, McKinney has city marshals for the court,
Oh, okay.
and they're pretty active down there in
Gotcha.
McKinney. Yeah, because later I worked for the city down there in the court.
Sure.
I did security for them and everything, and that was before the water company come up here, and I went out there for security with them.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's what I did, and then another part-time job I had during this period of time after I got out of being a judge and everything, I still had to have something to do, and I also hauled federal prisoners from Seagoville to the Dallas courthouse,
Yeah.
and I did that maybe once or twice a month.
Right.
That should be a podcast right there.
It should be.
But anyway, these are guys fixing to be released, blue-collar crimes, things like that, mail fraud, stuff like that. So I would take them down there, drop them off, and then these marshals down there would take them up to the court and after the weekend, and then they would be released. Like you can't do this anymore, write these hot checks and things like that.
So you might say you're a
Yeah.
human trafficker.
But,
Yeah.
but anyway, on the way from the prison to the courthouse, I got talking to him. I said, "What are you in here for?" And boy, they don't mind telling you. and I said, "Oh, really?" He said, "Yeah, I did real good." I said, "Well, how'd you get caught?"
Yeah.
And that was the thing. I always asked him, "Well, how did you get caught?"
Yeah.
So evidently, it wasn't as good as you thought it was.
So you're responsible for establishing, was it Salina and Melissa? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I started out, I went to a sheriff's academy down in Collin County. And I worked as a reserve for the sheriff's department, and also later Princeton Police Department. I was a reserve. Then I went to Salina as a full-time officer. I went to the Texoma Regional Police Academy in Denison, out there at the airport. And they had a police academy out there. I went out there to that. And then after I got certified, then I went as a regular officer over to Salina, which was one of my first real-time jobs and everything like that. And then worked my way up, and then I became police chief over there.
Good deal.
So when you were the city marshal here and started the police department, what year was that?
Goodness.
Round.
I'm going to say 1980. 1980 is when this happened.
Gotcha.
And like I said, they had a guy here that was like a Wild Bill Hickok, and
In Leonard?
they want to get rid of him, and so they let him go way before I come up here.
So they were just running
Yeah,
without.
yeah, but he went to work for the Shreveport Police Department. I
Yeah.
found out later, got on down there and everything.
Man, that's different. Leonard, 1,300 people to Shreveport.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was different, but
Yeah.
he had to go back through the academy down there.
So,
Yeah.
what was your experience like as a police officer here in the early days of police department in Leonard and in the 80s? So the square would have been a pretty
Tons of
happening.
cocaine.
Hey, listen,
Oh yeah, yeah. Speaking of which, Johnny McKinney brought that up when when cocaine came to Leonard.
Yeah.
Something like the 70s, 78 or something like that. I forget.
Yep.
Well, anyway, one of the main incidents, people didn't really know how I was at first.
Sure.
The cars going around honking horns. I made them stop all the honking on the square.
Yeah.
And they drank a lot up here. But I told them, I said, guys, I said, I'm not going to come over here and see if you're drinking. I said, if I see any beer cans on the square, I'm going to come over here and somebody's going to go to jail.
Yeah.
That's the way it ought to be.
But anyway, I try not to be also enforceable, and I just want to work with them, let them know that I'm here. I'm not here to bust your hind end and everything like that. I'm here to take care of the town, keep it quiet, keep people safe, And anyway, I ain't gonna mention no names, but I was on the square one night and I was driving around, heard a bunch of people fighting and everything like that. Other people can tell you about this because they remember it. And so this was the incident where I had no more trouble after this incident. These guys were over sort of hollering, drinking beer. One big guy, he could sit on the back of a tailgate of a pickup truck, and his feet were flat on the ground. That's how big he was. And I pulled over. I said, "Now, fellas," I said, "I don't want no fighting over here or anything like that." Well, the guy sitting next to him, he just saws off and hits him, rolls him out in the street. And he said, "You mean if I hit him, something's going to happen?" I said, "Yeah, you fixing to go to jail." So he jumps in somebody else's truck and starts backing out. I told everybody to get out of the way. Got the shotgun out and blew the tires off.
Dang.
Man, we missed a good time in early
That's some
days.
small town Leonard stuff right there, boy.
And anyway, he was petrified. So I got him out of the truck, put the cuffs on him. He was so big. And anyway, I heard one click. I said, "I got him." And I put the other on. I mean, he was petrified when he heard them shots. He didn't know if I was shooting him or what.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So anyway, after that, never had no more trouble in Leonard, Texas. I mean, I just.
What was the atmosphere on the square? Was it all sides or full of vehicles?
Oh yeah. I mean, and we still had a lot of that and everything. But anyway, I just started, keeping them quiet and everything. And then I had to, a couple of guys disorderly conduct, so I just called Crawford, come pick this car up. This guy's going to jail. I just find disorderly conduct, take him to jail. Once they seen that I was going to take you to jail,
Yeah.
For doing some of the things that they were doing.
People start getting polite after that.
Well, maybe not polite, but they stopped doing what they were doing.
Right.
And it was a little quieter and everything.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those are some of the...
So and then you ended up being judge here in Fannin County.
Pardon?
And you ended up with being judge
Yes.
in Fannin County.
Yeah.
How did that work?
Well, okay. After I worked about almost 8 years here as chief of police. Excuse me. And I was getting older and everything, so I ran for constable, and I got that. And I did that for about 4 years. And then the judge died in office, so I ran for that and got that because people knew who I was.
Yeah.
And so I got that, and my son, my oldest son, became constable at the same time I was judge, and we were both sworn in at the courthouse at the same time.
Oh, that's cool.
Very cool.
That's my oldest son. He's a teacher at Texas A&M now.
Okay.
And so
what was your experience with being a judge? I mean,
well, let me give you an example. my youngest son, I showed you the picture of him, the police officer at the colony. He's going down there. He fixing to be a detective. So he was going to class down there, and this guy said, Gillespie. This is a sergeant from Plano Police Department that's training them, giving them some ideas. So he said, Gillespie, where have I heard that name before? He said, where are you from? He said, Leonard. He said, I knew a judge up there. I believe his name was Gillespie. He said, yeah, that's my dad. And anyway, he told me, he said, well, one time the highway patrolman gave him a ticket, and he was doing some undercover work or something like that. And then he got a ticket for speeding. He come by my office and showed it to me and told me who he was and everything. I said, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you deferred adjudication and dismiss the ticket. And I did. And then he told my son what I did over there in that school that he was training my son. So, I mean, that's how far back people remember things.
That's funny.
So, to go back a little bit, you were telling Matthew and I when you got here that you grew up, or part of your formative life was in an orphanage in Tennessee. Can you talk a little bit about that, if you want?
Okay, this was right after World War II.
So you were born in Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay.
I was born in Nashville. I didn't even tell you the hospital I was born in. But anyway, I was born in Tennessee a month after World War II started. I was born January 18th, 1942. Anyway, we were raised in Nashville. My daddy was in the Army at the time. So right after the war was over, 46, something like that, he divorced my mother. And she tried to raise us best she can. She worked at a shoe factory in Nashville. And, you just can't raise 3 kids and all that. And the next door neighbor watched us while she worked. And we later called her Mama Pate. And I thought that was her name all my life. So anyway, she couldn't take care of us like she should. And so she decided that, and the aunts wanted to split us up, but my mother didn't want us to split up. So she talked us in, she put us in the orphanage home there in outside of Nashville in Brentwood, Tennessee. And we was out there. I was 5. My younger brother was 3 and a half. My older brother was like 7 and a half. So we were put in this one building with all these other kids. It's called the baby building. And after you get a certain age, then you go to the little boys building. And but Mother would come out and see us every once in a while. Of course, we always cried when she left because, we didn't want her
Sure.
to leave. But anyway, when we got to the little boys building, that's where the book happens because of the matron that was there and everything. I mean, it's very unusual. And also, you have a process there in the little boys building. The bigger kids ran the building down in the basement. It was all in the basement. There's about 40, 50 kids down there in this one building. And anyway, you had to fight your way up through to keep people from beating you up. You had to learn how to fight, and the bigger boys would stage fights between the younger ones and everything like that. And then in this process, later this kid come out of Nashville, and he was the toughest kid I've ever seen. He come out, and anyway, I'd been there probably about 2 years already when he got there. His name was Ralph McCarty. And if you read the book, Silent Tears, you can understand him. But anyway, he didn't take nothing off nobody. I mean, they'll beat him up. He got beat up all the time because he's, and so one night he talked me into going with him. Said, "You want to get back at them boys?" I said, "Well, not really."
But I'm subjective to peer pressure.
He said, "Well, we're going to go down there, and all you got to do is just pull a sheet over their head, 'cause I'm going to beat them up." And he had a
He hit a stick out
A
there
stick.
first.
He had a stick, yeah, and that's where later I got an idea. You know? So,
Did we tell that story on here? That
Yeah,
was
that
before.
was over
so-
there. Yeah.
but anyway, we pulled his thing up and he's beating that boy and he's just crying, hollering, and screaming, and everything like that. And in the bed next to him was a guy named Bobby Moon, the biggest kid, toughest kid in the building, but he had a good disposition about him. He wasn't in favor of all the things that was going on, but you know, he didn't interfere. He watched us. I looked over. He was looking right at me. Scared me to death. And I told him, I said, well, but anyway, he didn't tell nobody. And then later he cut down on a lot of the bullying over there himself, you know. So anyway, that's, like I said, that's basically where I come from.
So you were there from 5 to 10.
Yeah, I went there in 1947. I just turned 5.
So what happened at 10?
At 10, my mother remarried. People won't call him her stepdaddy, but we never used that term. This is our daddy.
Yeah.
And so we started calling him daddy after my mother married him. Good man. He's in the 101st Airborne at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And he was stationed there most of the time that I was there. And one year was able to get on a ship. He got stationed in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted to go see him. So anyway, they had a transport ship going out of San Diego, taking supply and stuff to Hawaii and everything. And relatives could get on there and ride over there and back with the ship, you know. So I got to go see him. Well, this is anyway, when we was over there, this is in the 50s, early 50s. So anyway, we got there and everything, and so he took us up to where he lived and everything. Had a TV. He said, "What you want to watch?" I said, "They got the Long Range on." He said, "Yeah." So he turned it on. Hayaka Sivasan. and that was in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
When we went over there, you know, and it was Japanese television.
Yeah.
But
Was that a direct translation, or did you just
That sounds like it.
did you ad lib it?
I got over. I still do that every once in a while to people.
So, hold on. I want to think about this, though. So, you came from an orphanage, and then in the 50s, you left Kentucky.
No, Tennessee.
Tennessee. He was stationed at Fort Campbell.
Yeah.
And then he went to Hawaii, and you went and visited him. What was it like to come out of the Nashville or, Kentucky area, the Fort Campbell area, to go to Hawaii?
Well, this is
The 50s.
this is
In the 50s.
yeah. Well, this is later on up into the. We've been out for a while.
Okay.
I was about the 6th or 7th grade at
Okay.
that time. So.
That's like a different world out there, though, right?
The ship was different.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and so that was very interesting. And but like I said, there's a lot of things that I know I did, and if I didn't write it down, I'd forget it.
Right, sure.
Still do now.
So, how was your departure from the orphanage system?
It's
What did
like,
that
thank
look
goodness. Here we go.
Okay, well, when we got out, we lived just outside the suburbs right there in Nashville and everything. And met kids, went to school there, real nice school out there in that area. And the kids there were different. But then later, when Daddy had to go back overseas, Mother moved us to a new housing project. They just built it in Nashville. And we moved over there, and of course, went to a different school, a little bit lower level activity school.
Sure.
You know what I mean, about the people and everything like that. Rough kids, things like that. And anyway, it was quite different over there. And but we got used to it. And then we finally, when Dad come back, we moved out to Nashville, a little out in the suburbs again. And that was more or less like the days of happy days, you know.
Sure.
I mean, it was during that area of time and everything. And so, junior high and high school was real good and
Right.
everything like that.
Were you adopted with your siblings?
Pardon?
You were adopted with your siblings?
Like all your brothers?
No,
and
no,
sisters?
no, no. We wasn't adopted. Our,
Well,
our mother picked us up from the orphanage.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I misunderstood.
Yeah, no. This is an orphanage where you couldn't be adopted.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, it was just a place to keep kids
Okay.
while their parents
Did
were.
I misunderstand the definition of an orphanage?
Well, they later changed it to Tennessee Baptist Children's Home,
Okay.
but it was called an orphanage the whole time I was out there.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. His mom picked him up, and then his stepdad.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Shoot.
that's what it's called. It's still there,
Gotcha.
but it's a lot different than what it was. You know.
So you completed high school in Nashville and
Yeah.
then made it out west to
Yeah.
to Texas.
Okay, what I did is
and your the first part of that is all detailed in Silent Tears, right? Your experience at the orphanage.
yes. That's
Your
it.
first book that you put out, and I wrote it down.
2003.
Yeah, I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
That's your first book, available on Amazon, right?
Right.
So you put that out as a foundation to what made you and what turned you into, or not turned you into, but what went into you to build up to this second book.
Yes.
So tell us about your second book that you just came out with back in May, Vietnam, a week in December 1969, correct?
Correct. I've had a bunch of people here in town buy the book. I've had 2 or 3 people buy 4 or 5 copies to give to other people and everything. So that book is doing real well.
Yeah.
And but it talks about the time that I got a divorce, got drafted, went to Vietnam, and as soon as I got off the plane, they told me that I was going back to the United States because I worked for Texas Instruments, and I was a government contractor at that time on projects that were highly developed, especially for the war, and different, guns and airplanes, things like that. And so, in lieu of a military service, I had to sign a contract for 1 year. I couldn't get out of the contract and nothing like that. So they sent me right back to where I was at in Vietnam, and as a private contractor. But I had a officer's credentials, and I roommated with a lieutenant over there, and that's what. Excuse me, and that got me out into the jungle where I didn't need to be.
Yeah.
Anyway, but like I said, the first trip over there, I was only there for just a short period of time, about 30 days, and I had a little adventure with that trip, and then I got back to the United States, and then signed the contract. They loaded me up and everything, and sent me right back to Tanzania. But like I said, I had to stay. I stayed in officers' quarters, had an officer's ID and everything like that.
That's as a private contractor?
Yes,
Gotcha. So you went to Vietnam as a soldier
yes,
for just a month, came back, got hooked up with Texas Instruments.
yes. Well, yes. I was already working for Texas Instruments when all this happened.
Okay.
I started work for Texas Instruments in '63. My high school education was in radio electronics.
Okay.
I went to a technical high school there in Nashville.
That would have been cutting edge, huh?
Yeah.
And then I come to Texas to go to a private technical school here. It's called Metropolitan Institute of Technology, down off of Buffalo Speedway and that. But when I first got to Texas, I stayed up in Texarkana, and so when I come from Texarkana to Dallas, I want to see all the oil derricks, the cactus, and the sagebrush.
Wrong
Only-
part.
Only at the rest stop on 30.
And I was so disappointed it was green all the way to Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, when I got to Dallas, I worked for Curtis Mathis for about a year and a half, and then I went to Texas Instruments
Curtis Mathis.
Television.
Where? Yeah. Is that where I know that name?
Yeah,
Yeah. Why do I know that?
they were a big manufacturer in televisions at that time,
Yeah.
and
Wow. Yeah, that's reaching back right there. That's like core
That
memories.
just tickled and opened up a box
Yeah.
of memories.
yeah.
yeah. But anyway, then I went to work for TI. I got on there, and they also you could get a training period where you work a semester and go to school a semester. So I enrolled at Arlington State College. That's it.
Curtis Mathis TV, the
Heck
old wooden
dude.
cabinet TV. That was brought to you by Curtis Mathis.
I bought that big one. That's the one I bought. First one I bought was that big one like that.
I bet some of those.
the record player on the side and the.
Yeah.
I bet some of those things still work.
Oh, me and my roommate in college. This is in 2004. Me and Matt, we picked up this old big wooden TV. We'd haul it out on our patios on Monday nights and watch football from our from our truck beds, grill and stuff.
Yeah.
It was very free,
Yeah.
very heavy. Yeah, the Curtis Mathis. That's funny you said that.
Yeah.
All right, so your book. Tell us without telling us the story. We need to. So I read the epilogue. You let me read the first couple pages, I guess. James,
Yes.
did you read it?
No.
You did not read
No.
it. And I'm intrigued, I got to say. And I purposely did not read this because I don't want to divulge anything or bring anything up that is in it that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're trying to sell a book here, too. But we need to build that anticipation from what I read of it.
Well,
How do you tell the reader what they're about to be in for?
okay, this is about the names we assigned to them was Georgie Boy, Chuck, and Val. Those were
Okay.
the names of the characters that we come with over there while we was in Vietnam. And I had trained with this lieutenant who was my roommate, and he was always training and doing things, and he'd be gone for a week or two, then he'd come back and everything, and he started telling me stories. I said, what are you doing? He said, well, he was an officer in the joint training ever since what was that big thing where the Vietnamese come out real quick and
Tet Offensive?
yeah, all right. The Tet Offensive was in 1968, and ever since then, the United States built up special squads. Well, he was in charge of one of these special squads that would go out, maybe try to retrieve people that were prisoners or things like that. I mean, just all kinds of jobs. Go out and ambush somebody. That's what his training was. Well, I started working out with him. He worked out all the time, so I started working out with him and jogging with him and everything. So I was in pretty good shape. I bulked up a little bit. I remember those days. I wish I had a picture of it.
You didn't take a selfie?
No, I didn't.
A
No.
Vietnam selfie?
No, there wasn't no selfies then. There wasn't no cell phones. And anyway, I worked out with him. Then I told him, my time's just about up. I'm going to go back to the States. I'd like to go on a little short mission with you, just one time, so I can tell people that, I've seen combat and everything like that. So he said, just be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Well, he got me assigned to go out. It's supposed to be a recovery thing. And a plane had to crash, had some people in it that were very important people in the United States. And like I said, if they research it, they'll find out who Georgie Boy, Chuck, and Val were. And if you read some of the press releases that they did when they put the book out, they said there's a little item called something. It's like a something could be like Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, because they come up with something that originally happened that affected the United States
Yeah.
and the people here. And he said sometimes that little something can be something little that nobody really knows about that can affect the way the world has developed. And this is about 3 important people who became world leaders and everything. And since we're alive and everything, I'm not going to mention the names, but like you said, you read the epilogue of the book.
3 main characters.
So you got to go on that mission. He assigned you.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
Um,
Went into Cambodia.
Yeah.
To
We're supposed to
retrieve
be there, were we?
No. Oh, you found that out, huh?
Oh, I have. I'm a bit of a student of history myself. But what was that like stepping out on that? So you said, "Hey, man, I'd like to go out with you one time." And he's like, "All right, come on." Were you like, "Oh"?
Well, I told him I was fixing to go back. I asked him a long time. I said I worked out with him and everything. I knew all the weapons, how to use them and everything, because of the training I had previously.
Sure.
And everything. So I was familiar with everything, and I was familiar with everything they did, how they did it, and everything. And it was him and 2 sergeants that were in charge, and had about 30 men, that would go out just special. And they were, I guess you would call them people like that nowadays, Navy SEALs.
Sure.
But at that time, they were just a special squad
Right.
that, since the Tet Offensive, tried to prevent things from like that happening again.
Right. Right.
so at the time, was there any
Excuse me.
special? Was there anything special about these characters? Did you understand the gravity of who they were, or was it just like a regular Joe and you're just doing your business, day to day stuff?
Had no idea who they were until we got there.
Okay.
And then I knew who they were,
Okay.
or had an idea. One for sure I knew.
Yeah.
Because he was recognized already
Yeah.
in the world. One's from England, one's from the United States, and the other one's from Russia.
Okay.
So,
So
I think we can all take a gander on that.
Bob Saget,
Yeah.
Russell Brand,
Yeah.
and oh man,
What
that
was that?
that YouTuber that does the guns.
Yeah. FPS Russia.
Yeah, but he's American.
Yeah. He's from
Well,
Georgia.
that puts things in perspective. How does that all come together in Cambodia?
because a plane crashed that had some of these people on it.
Interesting. Okay.
And
That's
that's in the book.
yeah. I've been thinking about this. We spoke last week,
Yeah.
pretty in depth about it, and I've been trying to think and figure out, and I've been excited to talk to you about this because I'm trying to figure out how this works out, and how
All right.
exactly you come in contact with these folks and remain in contact
Yes.
to an extent. Can you discuss this?
I can't say who they are, but
Sure.
yes, the American, yes, I'm still in contact.
Yeah.
The British guy, no. The Russian, no. But
I would think the Russian would be hard to get a hold of right now. he's really busy.
well, he sort of.
Yep, Tom. Sorry. Gotta go.
But, yeah.
Yeah, it's you hadn't read the epilogue yet.
No, I
have you?
haven't. I haven't.
Well,
I will
Well-
though shortly.
yeah.
I gave him a synopsis of it.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I brought him up to speed.
Well, then the thing to do is, like I said, read the first book, Silent Tears. First.
I will. I will.
I mean, you need to get where everything's coming from,
Yeah.
and then read that one. But you got to start at the very beginning.
What's interesting, and as I listened to your story, and we talked a little bit before this, and then I think about other things I've heard, is how it all everything's sort of accidental, and how things sort of line up. Like you shouldn't have even been out there,
Well, that's why I was under so much stress during all this time. And like I said, they let me know that they were watching me.
Oh, sure.
They've over the years they've
So
contacted
you've
me.
been were you privy by design or were you privy by kind of accident? Is that what I'm understanding? A little bit of both, maybe.
Being at the right place at the right time.
Okay.
With the right clearances.
And this is while private contracting
Yes.
for the military.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any sort of stories or anything out there that not proves this, but alludes to this, or
Not that I know of.
okay?
Because-
I've tried to do a little research and I couldn't find a whole
No.
lot on it. So I was,
You're not going to find anything. these guys were kids at the time as I was also.
Yeah.
They were like 22, 23, and 17
Yeah.
kids. But you didn't look at them as kids because I was a kid too. I mean, I was a young man, a little bit older than they were,
Yeah.
but yeah, about the same age as the sergeants
Gotcha.
and everything. And the sergeants were a mainstay. And I
So-
think,
Go ahead.
And I saw them later, talked to them for a long time, and it's been a while since I've been down here in Leonard. I might have seen them. I went to my mother passed away in 2008, and I went to Tennessee, down to my sister's and her husband's house, and these two sergeants was at the funeral, but I didn't know it. They'd been looking for me, and so they come to my cousin's house after the funeral and said, "Is Tom Gillespie here?" I said, "Yeah." Said, "Well, we have a story to tell you." And one of my cousins said, "What in the hell's he done now?" And so anyway, I introduced them, and then I talked to them outside, told them that we were under restrictions,
Huh.
and so anyway, I got their phone numbers and address, talked to them, sent them Christmas cards, and every once in a while, it's been impossible to talk to them in the last 4 or 5 years, probably.
Yeah. So have you given any thought to what it would be like if you made a different choice?
If I do what?
If you had made a different choice that day? Or in those sequence of events?
It'll never happen.
Okay. That choice would have never happened because there was no other option?
Well, no. Yeah, there were other options, but things might have turned out different for the other people involved.
Right. Have you given thought to
Yeah,
that? That's what I'm
right.
saying.
Yeah, it just happened that way.
Yeah.
You know, there's a. It's hard to explain,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, without giving too much away, and I'm
Right.
trying not to.
yeah, you had to read the book.
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm going to read these books, and then I want to come back and have a discussion. Maybe not on this podcast
Yeah.
or whatever, or maybe a year from now when other people's got a chance to read it. But I want to have a discussion after I read
Yeah.
the books.
Yeah.
okay, well, I'm fixing to. I'm fixing to go on another podcast that's going to be advertised.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be TV and everything like
Sure.
that.
Sure.
But like I said, I don't know if we're going into any more detail or not. I just had to talk to the guy first,
Right.
and then KXII in Sherman TV station talked to the guy up there, and he said that they had contact with Fox, and also I think it's NBC. You know, I mean that they're an independent station up
There are
there.
affiliates up there.
Yeah.
Well, I saw it on. You put a press release out pretty recently. I assume back in May, probably. You put a press release out either way.
Well, no, I didn't. The publisher.
The publisher did,
Yes. yes.
Well, I saw it on a couple different internet radio stations. Fox 40 in New York had shared it. Had you seen that?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, the Leonard Graphic shared it. Your hometown news publication,
Support.
Oh yeah. Okay.
as well as the Fannin County Leader. Don't forget about the 12 o'clock siren. You know, reporting on the
We
the
are
local,
reporting on it.
the local matters on the beat. So you said you got another podcast lined up, working with KXII on something.
Well, I'm gonna do the podcast in McKinney first,
Okay.
and then they will be. The guy's reading the book now up there.
Okay.
He's got the book, so he wants to go into detail and everything like that. So that might be a contact with like Fox News or something like that.
Yeah.
Then it's all gonna come out.
Do you know what that podcast's called?
I'm kind of excited about this.
No, I don't know yet. My wife's in the real estate in McKinney and everything.
Okay.
And we have her office is down there, and anyway, she knows a lot of people in McKinney. She's been down there for a long time in the real estate business, doing real good. Like I said, people ask me how come I married her. I said, "Oh, I married her for money. She just happened to be good looking."
I
And
bet she loves that story.
hey, she's hearing this now.
Yeah, she will.
yeah. She's tuned into this.
Awesome.
It's on. Both books are available on Amazon.
Right.
How have you done with it so far?
Done pretty well.
I mean, I don't need numbers. I
Yeah.
don't need
Well,
info, but-
okay. The first one when it come out, it did pretty good, and then it's doing good in Japan right now.
Really?
Okay.
And
Isn't that funny how that works?
yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
but Amazon has a worldwide reach
Oh, sure.
and everything. And then this book here has really taken off.
Yeah.
I've been getting calls from Mississippi, all over Texas, Oklahoma.
Cool.
And then word of mouth has got out from other people, and it's been on Facebook. People have put the book on Facebook and said, said, you need to read this book.
You got to share it on those Vietnam pages on
Yeah.
Facebook, I'd imagine.
Yeah, but like I said, the first one, I was a police officer in Salina and everything at that time, since 1977. And this little gal, I was sort of a girl. She was my girlfriend and everything, and she was, I think, about 19 at the time, but she sharp as a pistol, and she's the one that told me to write these things down, from that time, because it'll relieve you. She could tell that I was troubled by a lot of things. So anyway, her name's Tanya Laster. I want to give her credit for helping me write that book. And that was in 77, but I didn't publish it until my mother passed away in 2008. So it's after that we published the book.
So if you didn't make the connections, there's some pretty incredible characters in your Vietnam book
Who are still prevalent.
who are still pretty notable, influential, as you say, world leaders. Man, I'm just losing my train of thought. You have a publisher involved, right?
Yes.
So some of that's gonna be fact checked or
Yes.
cross-reference sourced. How does that work?
I don't know how they did it, but,
Okay.
but they wouldn't publish it unless they checked it out.
Okay.
So it's been published.
I'm not too up on my publishing rights and law, copyright and all that stuff.
I don't know how they checked it out, but they did,
Yeah.
and then they published it.
Is it written as a
Like a autobiography.
autobiography or
Yeah. It's a nonfiction book,
Okay.
and I like to give credit to John Parfait.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all know John or not.
I know the name.
I know the last name.
Yeah, I know the last name.
All right, he used to have a ribbon company here on the Square in Leonard, back in the 80s and 90s, and then he's up at Bailey now, and he's about my age, but he's a real intelligent guy, and he had written a couple of books that just gonna take off, I know, and so I just like to give him all kinds of compliments because he really helped me on this book. I mean, this book wouldn't have been published or written if he didn't go over it with me and he did most of the typing and stuff like that to get the book
okay.
ready. So
Gotcha.
James is a fellow author or aspiring, at least.
Aspiring. I mean, I do have one book on Amazon. It's garbage though. It's fiction. It was a terrible attempt, but yes, I do have something
He
published.
likes to write.
I
is
do.
the
I like to
was the
write.
point.
That's
It
the
was a
point.
compliment, really.
Thanks. Now
just,
I'm
just
embarrassed.
say thank you.
well, I got a book, another book I'm writing. It's gonna be a science fiction book.
All right.
I like science fiction. I'm a fan.
Okay, would you like to know the title?
I would.
We Are God.
Okay. All right. Are you
Yes.
gonna?
It starts off with Michelangelo and the telescope and everything. And
You're currently writing this?
yes,
All right. So I'm writing a western right now.
okay.
That takes place in Leonard. Anyway, that's cool. I'd like to read it.
You'll be surprised some of the things that's happening in Leonard.
I know.
You know
Especially in the world of fiction.
well, do you know where the old calaboose is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right back here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Were you the one that locked? What was his name?
Troy Berry.
Yeah.
You heard that story, huh?
That's a full circle podcast moment
Hey,
right
hey,
there.
listen. When I first come here, Troy was one of the first characters I ever met. Anyway, later Leonard used to have a dump,
Yeah.
and then he ran that, and
Yeah.
and,
We know about that
We've
too.
heard this story.
and then he was a dog catcher. So this lady called him one time and said, Troy, can you come over here and get this dog? Yeah, he come over there, and the dog was just laying on the porch. He shot it right there and left it there. He said, that dog won't bother you no more.
Jeez.
I know.
In front of kids, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it in front of a high school?
Well,
that we said?
no, the woman that lived in it, it wasn't her dog, but it stayed there, slept on the porch, and she wanted him to come get it and take it away. She didn't know who it belonged to.
Jeez, man.
But anyway,
Troy Berry.
yeah. One time he told me a story. He said he was over in Trenton and got drunk. Well, the constable picked him up and going to take him home. And take him to jail. He said, well, my father's got $5. He'll pay the fine, and you won't have to take me up there to jail. So he come over to Leonard, went down to Troy's house, and Troy said, I'll be back in just a minute. He goes in. Well, hell, he didn't come back out. And then the constable went up there and knocked on the door and said, where's Troy at? He said, why? He said, well, he said, you had $5 to pay for his being drunk in public and everything like that. He said, I ain't seen $5 and I don't know when. He said, well, where's Troy at? He said, he's probably out back in one of them trees. So, I mean,
They were like, I'll just go home at this point.
Troy was well known.
That's crazy. All right, Matthew, why don't you explain what's going on here?
So once again, Silent Tears, Vietnam, a week in December 1969, are your two books available
Right.
on Amazon. Any other places to buy it? I know this is the most popular, but are you pushing it any other way, Facebook or anything like that?
any what?
Are you on Facebook with it or anything like that?
Well, people are putting it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But you only buy it through
Yeah.
Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can only buy it through Amazon.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add?
But I would like to point out, you can buy it probably, if it's on Amazon, you can buy it digitally and physically,
Yes,
right? Because I've
yes.
seen the physical books, so
Right.
I know it's possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you got a Kindle or something, download it.
Yeah, for sure. Anything you'd like to add about your books or mention that we may have missed or something might be overlooking?
Well, we're going to do a part 2 of this.
Yeah.
Once he does his other shows and stuff, I want to come back to this.
Are you agreeable to that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Good deal. This is about it. We're at the part of the show at the end where we do 5 questions pulled out of this jar, kind of random questions. I'm going to start it off with one that we ask a lot of our interviewers and we haven't asked in a while. What was your first memory of Leonard?
Well, when I was younger, I was driving. I always drove around, like from Melissa and Salina. I
Sure.
just drove, and I happened to come up to Leonard one time, and
So this is before the job offer.
right,
Okay.
and drove through it, and I never seen nothing like this.
Really?
Yeah, and so anyway, that was my first memory of Leonard.
Really?
And I knew where it was and what it looked like
Sure.
and everything, but as far as
What was Melissa like in 1979 or 80 or whatever before you came
Okay.
up here?
Melissa at the time probably had about 1,100 people,
Okay.
something like that.
Comparable size.
Yeah, yeah, to what Leonard was at that time.
How big was McKinney then?
McKinney was when I left Collin County. McKinney was 17,000.
Okay, so it was a bigger town. It's like Bottom now or something.
Yeah, but Plano was only 50-something thousand. Plano was the biggest town, 50,000. Then McKinney was 17,000.
Okay.
Salina was 1,200. Melissa was about 1,100. And I mean these, but now they're just
It's different now.
oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
the whole county down there is different.
And it's coming here too. I mean, it's just
Well, the thing is, I don't think so here as much because there are two things keeping it from happening. The city of Leonard, when you build a house in Leonard, you tear down an old one and put another one up there because of the sewer system and the water system that the city has. And then people are buying acreage around
Right.
here and building houses, but they putting in those
septics.
septics and
Yeah.
things like that are it's called a aerobic system, which is like a small sewer system.
Yeah.
And you have to have an acre or two like that. So that's where most of the people, I mean, it's already filling up. You cannot build houses right next to each other like you can.
We just
down
have a
in
hole
Collin
in the
County.
backyard that we just cover
Yeah.
up with a
I use
piece
an
of wood.
outhouse, actually. That's what I use.
Speak for yourself.
All right. So That was your first memory, was just coming up here and
Yeah,
driving around
Yeah,
while
just
you
driving
were...
around. I
All right.
happened to come up this way one time.
So when was the last time you were on a stage?
Oh, crap. I don't know. Well, I was in high school
Okay.
There you go.
All right. That's fair. That's a good answer.
Acting or
when I graduated.
okay, there you go.
There you go.
All right, I got what's the tallest building that you've been to the top of? Which
That's
Empire,
awkwardly worded. Sorry.
top two?
Empire State Building.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a
Me
good
too.
One.
When I flew
No.
Sears.
Sears
Yeah.
Tower in
Yeah, you're
Chicago.
right. We
Yeah.
we did the Sears.
We did.
when I flew back from Vietnam, landed in New York.
Did a little sightseeing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So if you could have lunch with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
My daddy.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair.
Solid
That's
answer.
Solid answer. Solid answer.
All right, this is gonna be a Leonard-centric question. I need 5 names of people around town that you would have been happy to run into as the chief of police or an officer in Leonard in the 80s.
Happy to run into.
Yeah, you'd like, hey, it could have been, the old man at Dairy Queen. It could be the punk kid on the square that you just enjoyed the company of, or
Not who you'd be happy to arrest.
right.
Well-
Just who you'd be happy to.
Johnny McKinney.
Okay.
Okay. The Siren Zone.
Siren Zone.
Yeah. And let me think. Oh, it's hard to remember.
Hey,
I put you on the spot there with that one.
Yeah.
So
if you put me on the spot right now with that, I'd be like, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. Just it's just Troy Berry.
Yeah.
Sure.
I loved him, and Blabber Brown.
Okay.
All right.
I've not heard that one.
No.
Oh,
That's a
you
new
don't-
one.
Yeah, I
Oh,
wanna-
now give us a story about
Oh.
Blabber
give us
Brown.
a story.
And Melvin Barr.
All right.
And let me see who else would I.
I just need one more.
Yeah, you're almost there.
Well, I know.
I'm going to give you the 5th one if you can't come up with it. I'm going to say R.C. Kuhn,
Oh.
just because he passed away recently, and
Siren Zone.
he was one of our favorites here at the Siren.
Okay.
So I would assume you probably got a story or two about him.
Yeah. He.
Get your damn monkey.
Yeah. Oh, he told me a little more about the monkey story.
Really?
Yeah.
Everybody knows the monkey.
Yeah.
But anyway, the thing about him that I remember most, down at the Quick Check one day, and I was police chief then, and everything. I sit down there, and here come Arsoon riding his horse down the street. He comes in there. I said, "Did you lose your driver's license again? Had to ride that horse?" He said, "I wish you quit telling people that."
I told Tom about he didn't really go into details on the monkey story. Kind of left us hanging on that.
He did.
He did a
Like
little
he
bit.
kind of wanted to skirt around it.
Right, that's what I told Tom. And he said, Tom said he taught the monkey to rake the ground. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought that was a pretty impressive.
and ride horses.
And ride
Yeah.
horses, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we brought that up, and he just moseyed on through that, didn't he?
Sheepishly.
Well.
We'll forget about that part.
All right.
You got one more?
I do. One more question for you, sir. One thing you will never do again.
Volunteer.
Oh.
I think that's a
Well,
timely answer for these days.
Do you realize you're volunteering right now
You are. You volunteered for this podcast, sir.
Well,
on a committee?
I'll never volunteer for anything dangerous again.
Yeah.
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 That's about it. Any final words from you? And not too final, because we'll have you back and we'll
delve a little
rehash this whole story.
Well, I appreciate everything you guys are doing here. It means a lot to the community. It means a lot to me, and you'd be surprised how many people talk about you.
Well, that's appreciative. I appreciate hearing that.
And
'cause-
John Parfait talks about you.
Yeah.
He's the one that told me.
Well, I'll be.
And,
That's cool.
Oh yeah,
That's
That
good.
is cool.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much.
absolutely.
you would definitely have to meet John Parfait.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
I know the last name. We went to school most likely with some of his grandchildren. I would assume,
Grandchildren,
Yeah.
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 probably.
I mean, I don't know how old he is. I would
Yeah.
assume he's probably got some grandchildren.
Yeah.
I talked to him.
Okay.
Yeah, talk to him.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your service and your all the work you've done to write some books and put your story out there. And I read the epilogue, guys. Go check this book out. It's
The first one, Silent Tears.
I can't wait to read it. Just from the 2 pages that I read, so I'm really excited to see how this goes, and we'll follow up on this and recap.
I'm gonna leave both books here for you to read.
So I'm going to take one of them. I'm going to Fort Worth for the next 2 nights. I'm going to take one of them and read it while I'm there, and then bring it back to Matthew and swap it out.
We'll relay them.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Gillespie, thank you so much. Thanks for coming out.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out here for the day, and we will be back with a recap of your books at some point in time.
Here shortly.
Happy to have you back. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.